Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. How many of you have ever wished for a change in your life? You've dreamed of success, better habits, or just a fresh start. But if we're being honest, how often do we actually follow through? It's easy to dream big, but it's a lot harder to take action. I've been there. I've stood in the same place, wondering why things weren't shifting, why my dreams were staying just out of reach. But here's what I learned. Change doesn't come from wishful thinking. It comes from action. It comes from the small, disciplined habits we commit to every single day. Let me tell you, I transformed my life in just 1 week. It wasn't some grand, overnight miracle. It was about simple habits, consistent actions that built up over time and changed everything. And the best part, these habits are within your reach right now. In the next 5 habits that truly changed my life in just 7 days. These habits aren't complicated. They're not secret formulas or quick fixes. They are grounded in the belief that success is predictable. With consistent effort and a clear purpose, you can transform your life just like I did. So let's dive in. These habits are simple, but don't mistake simplicity for ease. The hardest part is committing to them. But once you do, you'll see your life start to shift in ways you never imagined. Let's get started with the first habit. The power of change. You cannot change your life until you change something you do every day. Let me start with a simple truth. Nothing in your life will change until you decide to change. You've got to make a decision, a real one deep down, where you say, enough is enough. I'm not living this way anymore. Change begins with a choice to do something different, to break free from the habits that are holding you back. You see, we often wait for the perfect moment, when the stars align, when we have more time, or when we finally have all the answers. But the perfect moment doesn't come. Change doesn't wait for the stars to align. It begins the moment you take responsibility and decide to act. I remember, years ago, I was stuck in a place where I felt like nothing was moving forward. I was working hard, but I wasn't getting the results I wanted. Everything felt like a struggle. But then I realized something. If I kept doing the same things every day, I was going to keep getting the same results. I had to change something. So I started with the smallest of changes. I changed my mornings. I started waking up earlier, not because I had to, but because I wanted to take control of my day before life controlled me. How you begin your morning determines how your day unfolds. If you wake up in a rush, you're already behind. But when you wake up with intention, when you wake up with a plan, your day has direction. Here's what I did. I didn't jump out of bed and rush into work or into the chaos of the day. I took time to sit in silence, to reflect, to think about what was most important to me. I thought about my goals, my dreams, and the person I wanted to become. What do I want from today? That was my question every morning. In those quiet moments, I realized that change wasn't about waiting for the right time. It was about making time for what truly mattered. And so, I changed my mornings. And by doing so, I changed my entire day. Change doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a 180-degree turn. It can be as simple as waking up 30 minutes earlier or choosing to take a different path. The important part is that you start somewhere. You start by making one change that leads to another and another. But here's the thing, change isn't just about waking up earlier or doing something different. It's about making a conscious decision to become a better version of yourself. It's about deciding that you are worth the effort, that your dreams deserve your full attention. And when you decide to change, you give yourself permission to grow. It's the power of small, consistent changes. I didn't see the results immediately. But over time, those changes compounded. And when you begin to make changes that align with your goals, you'll see the results too. Not tomorrow, not next week. But soon enough, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Success is predictable, and it starts with making the decision to change. Change something you do every day, and your life will follow suit. Don't wait for life to change you. Change yourself. That's where it all begins. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You've heard the saying, success is not magic, it's the result of discipline. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike. It's about showing up day after day and doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. That's discipline. Let's get one thing cleared. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you'll feel like you're on top of the world, ready to conquer it all. Other days, you'll feel like you're dragging yourself just to get through the day. That's human nature. But here's the thing, discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is what carries you through when motivation fades. When I was in the thick of it, struggling to make real progress, I realized something crucial. If I didn't develop the habit of discipline, I was never going to see the success I wanted. It wasn't enough to just want something. I had to be willing to work for it, even when I didn't feel like it. So, I created a system for myself, a daily routine that became non-negotiable. Every morning, after my quiet time and reflection, I dive into the most important task of the day, even if it was difficult, even if I was tired, and especially if I didn't feel like it. That was my first taste of true discipline. The kind that didn't care about my excuses or my mood. It was about showing up regardless. I learned that if I committed to my tasks each day, no matter how small, the momentum would build. Slowly, the work I did every day began to compound, and suddenly, I was getting results I hadn't thought possible. You see, discipline isn't just about hard work. It's about consistency. It's about doing what you say you'll do, whether you feel like it or not. It's about doing it when you're tired, when the world distracts you, when others give up. The cost of discipline is less than the cost of regret. When I embraced discipline, I started to see things differently. I realized that every small action, no matter how seemingly insignificant, was building a foundation for something greater. It was no longer about a big breakthrough. It was about the tiny steps, repeated consistently, that would eventually lead to extraordinary results. Here's a simple truth: your results are a reflection of your discipline. If you aren't getting the results you want, ask yourself, am I truly committed? Am I showing up every single day, doing the hard things even when they're uncomfortable? I'll tell you this. The greatest difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simply this: the successful ones choose discipline over convenience. The successful ones make it a habit, not a once-in-a-while effort. They choose the hard work when it's easier to quit. They choose consistency when others are looking for shortcuts. And here's the good news: discipline is a habit. You can develop it just like any other habit. Start small, but be consistent. Set your intention and show up. Even on the days when you feel like quitting, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's when the true power of discipline shows its strength. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. The question is, will you make the choice to discipline yourself today? Because your future is shaped by the choices you make in this moment. You can't wait for success to come to you. You must discipline yourself to make it happen. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. Let me ask you something. What are you doing to grow today? Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now, in this moment. What are you doing to make yourself better, stronger, wiser, and more capable? I've learned one undeniable truth in my life: personal development is the key to unlocking your full potential. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not pushing yourself to be better, you're being left behind. When I started to really focus on personal development, everything changed. I wasn't just looking for external success anymore. I began to understand that the external world only gave me what I could handle internally. If I wanted to see bigger results, I had to become a bigger person. I had to become someone capable of handling those results, of sustaining success. And the only way to do that was to develop myself. My mind, my skills, my knowledge, Personal development doesn't just happen by accident. It happens intentionally. It happens when you make a decision to invest in yourself every single day. Every book you read, every seminar you attend, every new idea you explore, that's all a step toward your growth. And here's the thing, the best investment you'll ever make is in yourself. The world can't give you this kind of growth. You have to be the one to choose it. For me, it started with reading. I remember the first time I picked up a personal development book. I was skeptical. I thought, what's a book going to do for me? But I gave it a chance. And slowly, I began to realize that the knowledge in those books wasn't just information. It was transformation. Each new idea, each new concept started to shift the way I thought. But it wasn't just about consuming information. It was about applying it. Personal development is not just about learning. It's about taking action on what you've learned. It's about implementing those new ideas in your daily life. The magic happens when you take what you know and make it part of who you are. One of the greatest lessons I learned was that growth is a constant process. There is no finish line. You don't just become successful and stop. You keep growing. You keep evolving. You grow when you're on top, and you grow when you're struggling. You grow when you succeed, and you grow when you fail. If you want to be more, you have to learn more. And let me tell you, it pays off. The more you grow, the more you can give. The more value you bring to the world, the more value the world will bring back to you. Personal development will give you the clarity to know what you want, the skills to go after it, and the mindset to stay strong when challenges arise. It'll give you the tools you need to build the life you've always dreamed of. Here's the secret: your future is determined by the books you read, the people you meet, and the things you choose to learn every day. The moment I committed to growing every day was the moment my life began to change. I stopped waiting for success to find me, and I started seeking out opportunities to grow. I became intentional with my learning. And when I did that, everything else followed. If you want to create the life you desire, start by investing in your own development. Learn, grow, and stretch beyond what you think is possible. Because when you develop yourself, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the lives of everyone you touch. Success is not to be pursued, it is to be attracted by the person you become. Let me share with you a lesson that will truly shape how you view your life and your future. It's a habit that can either make or break you, and it's one that many of us resist at first. This habit is the habit of taking responsibility for your own life. When I was younger, I was like many people. I believed that if I had different circumstances, I would be successful. I blamed my lack of resources, my environment, even the people around me for my struggles. If only I had a better job, I thought. If only I had more money. Or, if only I had the right people in my corner. Then things would be different. I was constantly looking for something or someone to blame for my failures. But here's the true thing: I wasn't seeing the real problem. I wasn't taking responsibility for my own life, my choices, and my actions. I didn't realize that I was giving my power away by blaming circumstances and other people. But one day, after much frustration and self-reflection, I came to a powerful realization. If I wanted to change my life, I had to stop blaming everything and everyone around me and start taking responsibility for everything that was happening to me. Taking responsibility is not just about taking ownership of your successes. It's about accepting full accountability for your failures, mistakes, and shortcomings as well. And here's the kicker. It's not about feeling guilty or beating yourself up. It's about understanding that you have the power to change everything. Think about it for a moment. If you blame someone else for where you are in life, you give them the power to control your future. But when you take responsibility, you take back that control. You take full ownership of where you are and where you want to go. At the time, I felt like I was stuck in a cycle. Things weren't going my way, and I couldn't see how I was ever going to break out. But when I made the conscious decision to stop blaming, to stop making excuses, and to accept full responsibility for my life, something shifted. Everything changed. You see, responsibility gives you power. It makes you the creator of your own destiny. When I began to take responsibility for everything, the good, the ugly, I realized something very important. I could choose my response to any situation. I could choose to make changes, to learn from my mistakes, and to take action. But let me make one thing clear. Taking responsibility isn't always easy. In fact, it's often hard. It means confronting your own flaws and weaknesses. It means admitting to yourself that you are not a victim and that your life is in your hands. And it also means that you no longer have the luxury of excuses. When you take responsibility, you acknowledge that your life is the result of your decisions. You can't blame your past, your family, your job, or anyone else for where you are today. Your life is a direct reflection of your choices. That realization is empowering. It means that if you want to change your life, you can start with the choices you make right now. Let me share with you a moment that truly transformed my life. One of the first steps I took toward responsibility was changing my mindset. Instead of saying, "This happened because of them," I started asking myself, what part did I play in this? What choices did I make that led me here? And once I started asking those questions, I realized that the answers weren't as hard to find as I thought. I had been making choices every day that led me exactly to where I was. I had been procrastinating. I had been avoiding hard work. I had been playing it safe instead of pushing myself outside my comfort zone. But once I took full responsibility for my actions, something extraordinary happened. I started making different choices. I began investing more time in my personal growth. I stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started creating my own opportunities. I began acting with intention instead of reacting to circumstances. Taking responsibility is not just about accepting the past, it's about creating your future. When you accept full accountability, you become the architect of your own success. And it starts with making a decision today, a decision to stop waiting for life to hand you success and to take ownership of the actions that will create that success. Here's something I realized: you can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. The minute I took responsibility for my life, I took control of my future. I stopped looking at the obstacles in my life as things that were holding me back and started seeing them as challenges to overcome. And with each challenge, I grew stronger, wiser, and more capable. Taking responsibility means that you stop waiting for the perfect circumstances. There will never be a perfect time, and there will never be a perfect set of circumstances. But that's okay, because when you take responsibility, you realize that you have the power to make the most of whatever situation you're in. Let's talk about another aspect of responsibility: your relationships. Taking responsibility isn't just about your own actions. It's also about owning the impact you have on others. You may have heard the saying, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." That means the people you surround yourself with play a big role in shaping your life. And if you're not happy with where you are, you have to take responsibility for the relationships you've allowed into your life. When you take responsibility for your relationships, you take responsibility for the energy you allow into your life. You begin to surround yourself with people who push to be better, who encourage your growth, and who hold you accountable. You stop making excuses for people who are holding you back. Taking responsibility for your relationships also means owning your own behavior. If there's conflict, you look at your own actions first. If things aren't going well, you ask yourself, what can I do differently? How can I contribute to making this better? Here's the bottom line: taking responsibility is a powerful act of self-empowerment. When you own your life, your actions, your relationships, and your choices, you create the space for extraordinary things to happen. You stop being a passive observer of your life and start becoming the active creator of your future. So, I ask you today, what are you willing to take responsibility for? Your future, your actions, your success, it's all in your hands. When you choose to take full responsibility for your life, you are choosing to step into your true power. And that is where success begins. Success is not a matter of luck. It's a matter of responsibility. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. Let me tell you something that changed my life forever, something I learned through trial and error. It's the habit of consistency. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, consistency. That sounds simple enough, right? But let me tell you, consistency is not as simple as it sounds. It's easy to start something, to make a commitment. But what separates the successful from the unsuccessful is the ability to stick with it, day in and day out. Here's the thing about consistency. It's the key to everything. No matter how talented you are, no matter how much potential you have, if you don't have consistency, nothing will change. Consistency is what turns effort into results. It's what transforms good intentions into extraordinary achievements. When I first started, I wasn't the smartest guy in the room, and I wasn't the most talented. But what I had, and what I developed over time, was the willingness to show up. I made a commitment to myself that I would show up every single day, no matter what. And that consistency eventually led to success. The thing about consistency is that it's not always glamorous. It's easy to want to give up when you don't see immediate results. But here's what I learned: that success doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and that process requires consistent effort. I remember a time when I was discouraged. I wasn't seeing the progress I expected. I was doing all the right things, taking all the right actions, but things weren't moving fast enough. I thought, is this really worth it? Am I doing the right thing? Why isn't this working the way I want it to? But then I realized something important. The results I wanted weren't going to show up instantly. It was the daily effort, the small actions, the repeated discipline that would compound over time and bring the change I desired. I had to trust the process. I had to stick with it. I had to trust that the daily actions I was taking would eventually pay off. You know what? They did. The power of consistency lies in this principle, and it compounds. What may seem like small, insignificant actions at first eventually build up to something extraordinary. Success is like planting a seed. At first you see nothing, but as you continue to nurture it, water it, and give it attention over time, it grows into something remarkable. Most people give up too soon. They try something for a week, a month, or even a year, and when they don't see the results they want, they quit. But those who stick with it, those who show up every day, will eventually see the fruits of their labor. The key is not to quit. One of the most powerful quotes I've heard is, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." It's not the big leaps that lead to success. It's the small, consistent steps you take each day. And let me tell you, when you stick with those small steps long enough, they will take you places you never imagined. I see it time and time again with successful people. They may not be the best, the fastest, or the smartest, but what they have is the ability to be consistent. They keep showing up, they keep doing the work, and they keep making progress. And over time, they achieve things that seem impossible to others. Consistency is a habit, just like any other. It's something you develop by practicing it every day. If you make a commitment to show up every day, to do the work, to stay disciplined, even when you don't feel like it, you'll see results. But let me tell you, it's not always going to be easy. There will be days when you're tired. There will be days when you're discouraged. There will be days when you feel like giving up. But the key is to keep going. Don't stop. Keep showing up even when you don't see the results right away. I can't stress this enough. It's the consistent actions, the small steps, the daily discipline that add up over time. Those who succeed are the ones who don't stop when things get tough. They push through the difficulties. knowing that success is waiting on the other side. And here's the truth, you are capable of more than you realize. If you commit to being consistent, if you make a habit of showing up every day, you will begin to see results that others can't even imagine. The success you're looking for is hiding in your consistency. Here's a practical tip for you. Start small, but be consistent. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one area of your life where you want to improve and commit to showing up every day. Whether it's reading, exercising, or working on a project, just show up. Over time, those small actions will build on each other, and you'll begin to see the transformation you're seeking. Success isn't about having the best ideas. It's about being consistent with the ones you have. It's about taking action day after day, even when you don't feel like it. Let me remind you of this: success is predictable. It's not magic, and it's not luck. It's a result of consistent effort. So commit to the habit of consistency. Keep showing up. Keep doing the work. And over time, you will achieve more than you ever thought possible. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. But the road to success is built on small, consistent actions. If you commit to this habit, your life will change in ways you can't even imagine. Keep going. Keep showing up, and the results will follow. As we wrap up, remember this: the power to change your life lies in the habits you form. Start today, be consistent, and trust the process. It's not about taking giant leaps. It's about taking small steps every single day. If you commit to these habits, in just 1 week, you'll start to see the change. The question is, will you show up and do the work? Your success is in your hands. So take action, stay disciplined, and watch as your life transforms. Keep going and never stop believing in your potential. The best is yet to come.